Welcome, everyone. My name is Akshat, and I will be your moderator for tonight. Suzanne Henry is our speaker tonight, and she'll be discussing the 13 dental billing processes that can make or break the financial health of your practice. If at any point you have a question, please type it out into the box labeled "Have a Question," and we will conduct a live Q&A at the end of the webinar. To talk with other attendees, navigate to your control panel at the bottom of your screen and click the chat icon. Henry Schein is not offering CE credit for viewing or attending this presentation, live or on demand. Susie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yes, so I'm excited to talk to you guys about the 13. There's so many more than 13, right? These are just a few that can hopefully help you guys, get more revenue into your practice and make things run a little bit smoother. So I am with eAssist Dental Solutions. We are the top dental billing company in all of the U.S. We have collected more than $9.34 billion from insurance companies. Our job is to bring in all those collections for you, help your office run smoother, and to deliver peace of mind. eAssist has won many awards. We're the nation, like I said, we're the nation's leader in dental billing. We have a whole plethora of people that are passionate about dental billing and love to help and bring in all those insurance collections for you. But when you think about eAssist, a lot of times you think about just dental billing. There is so much more to eAssist than just that. We offer a bunch of different services. So along with our core dental billing service, we also have a credentialing service and fee schedule update service, insurance verification and eligibility, dental practice accounting and bookkeeping, patient portion, and also full schedule. And all of these align in my slides on how your practice can run better. So I'll talk a little bit about myself, introduce myself to you all so you're not wondering who I am just talking to you. So I have been in the dental field for a little over 22 years. I started out as a dental assistant, and then I worked myself up, cross-training, and then I became a manager. And then a few years back, almost 5 years ago, I started working for eAssist. I call myself a dental nerd. I absolutely love dental. Those funny memes and all those things that come up that you see, I just think they're hysterical, and I try and show them to other people that really aren't like in the dental world, and they just think that I'm crazy. But I'm absolutely passionate about it. So I am actually a success consultant myself. I have 2 offices that I service and I do dental billing for. And then I'm also a team leader. And my role as a team leader is essentially a regional manager. I work in the background with other success consultants to make sure that we are meeting all of our brand promises and helping dental offices be successful. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So there's 3 things that I really hope that you'll learn today. One is how to develop the ultimate pre-appointment readiness plan, and then how to maximize your practice's collections. We have winning systems that we really feel help. And then why streamlining these processes will help you achieve your practice revenue goals. All right. So our first one is successfully credentialing all eligible providers with insurance contracts. So we do have a poll here, which is, when do you start the process for credentialing new providers? So we have the poll up there. So we'll just wait a couple minutes, or not a couple minutes, just a few seconds here to see. And let's see here. All right, so far no one's done the poll from what I can see. All right, well, I guess we're not doing that poll, and that's okay. We feel like credentialing all providers is a huge step in the right direction to making sure that you're getting all of the insurance benefits that you need. Sometimes when you hear the word credentialing, it sounds really scary because it seems like such a big process. But it really is so helpful because it helps you get a large database of patients. So if a patient ends up, let's say they have Delta Dental and they're calling around to see if you accept their insurance. A lot of times patients aren't going to see you if you don't accept it. There are some offices that are out of network and fee for service, and everybody knows that. But yeah, so that is, really important. I actually have a sweet doctor that I've been working with who bought a practice, and she had her own, but she bought a practice and merged it with another one. And the plan was for her to, wait a little bit and then credential after the sale went through, and then after all of that went through. She became into an unfortunate situation where 2 weeks after she started combining everything and working there, the other doctor left, and it left her with a credentialing nightmare. And so making sure that you are credentialing just as soon as you know that somebody's coming on board. Also, another really important tool is sometimes we get those reverification documents in the mail from an insurance company, and we all get busy, and sometimes we just set those aside. And if you're not verifying as a provider, you can get yourself in a sticky situation. So if you have tips and tricks on when you start the dental credentialing process, please share your ideas, and you can go ahead and jump it in I believe the Q&A will be better suited. So that way we can all learn from each other. But eAssist does have a credentialing service that we have found that is very effective. Sometimes it takes a long time to get someone credentialed. So starting to do it as soon as possible is really, really key. All right, moving along. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about verifying patient benefits. And so I do have another poll, which is, when are you verifying your patient's insurances? There's a day of appointment, 2 to 3 days in advance, or do you just simply not verify at all? So we'll give this just a few minutes to see. And while you guys are doing this poll, I really think that insurance verification is kind of like the meat and potatoes to your practice, especially if you are accepting insurances. Okay, let's see if there is, here we go. We've got 5.4 do it the day of the appointment. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. 86% do it 2 to 3 days in advance, and 8.1 do not verify. Okay, so completing insurance verifications and basic eligibility checks. So why is that important? It's really important to get those because you can collect the estimated patient portion at the time of service. You can decrease the denials and follow-ups and upset patients in your practice, and you maximize your office collections. I'm actually going to use myself as an example. A few years ago when I was working in a practice, I really wish I would have had eAssist or somebody to really kind of help me streamline the process, because we would verify patients the day of service, and the patient would bring their insurance card in, and then they'd be in the waiting room. We'd be copying it, and then we'd be calling the insurance, trying to get that breakdown. Sometimes we'd be sitting on hold for a really long time waiting for that eligibility check. And they didn't always have the access that we needed on the portals. So the patient would get called back, right? They're called back in the chair, and we're still waiting on hold with the insurance company. We don't know what's happening with their insurance. Then the doctor goes in, does the exam, and we still don't have the information. And it was a little bit embarrassing sometimes because we'd be so rushed, and I would almost feel a little panicky. And so, making sure that you're doing it, we recommend doing it 3 days in advance. The reason we do that is because It gives you time that if a patient has maxed benefits or a waiting period, or there's so many little scenarios that can happen, frequency limits. You'll know those prior to the patient's appointment. So let's say something happened and the patient wasn't able to come because of being maxed out or whatever, and they had to cancel. Instead of them walking out of the dental chair empty-handed and you guys just didn't do anything, you would know in advance and you would hopefully have time to fill your schedule and get that, taken care of. So, and it's just nice to find out so you can have really accurate treatment plans. That's what we all want. We want to make sure that we're giving the correct treatment plans for the patient, and the patient wants to have the most accurate treatment plans possible. All right. And then this also, I feel like these kind of go hand in hand. Inputting information into your practice management correctly and accurately. None of us want to wake up and make mistakes, right? But when you're feeling rushed or you're trying to get things in, we're human and accidents can happen. I would say, from what I've seen, putting like inaccurate information in, like a digit being off or something little, is probably one of the biggest things we see as far as insurances and not paying on claims. Denials or simply claims just not being on file. Making sure that you have a copy of the insurance card front and back is key, and scanning that into your practice management system. That way, if something were to ever happen and the denial came back, you would be able to cross-reference the insurance card and the ID number. Also a photo of ID, so you can make sure you have their legal name. For example, my name is Susie, but my real name is Suzanne. And so if my dentist were to put Suzanne Henry, my insurance probably would kick that back because they wouldn't recognize me under that name. So legal names, date of births, ID numbers, address, group number, pay ID, all of that. 65% of offices in the U.S. are insurance driven. And so making sure that everything is entered correctly is super, super key. All right, moving on. Also making sure that you're matching the appropriate CDT code for the service provided. So I'm not sure if you guys might want to put in the chat like what your favorite source of CDT codes are. I love Coding with Confidence. I feel like it's like my dental Bible. That's the one that I like to use. But as we know, the ADA changes things often. They'll have deleted codes or new codes that they're doing. So making sure that your front staff or that you have a new one every year. Things are changing all the time. And then, making sure that your whole staff knows where that book is so that if you guys need to reference something, you have it. Let's see here. I'm going to, so please let us know what you like to use if you are using anything. And if you aren't, I recommend investing in something that your whole team can use. It helps improve your reimbursement. It helps improve your treatment planning. There's times where I'm like, oh, is that the right code? I'm not sure. I'll open up my book, take a look at it, and I have like full examples. Sometimes it'll give me like an example narrative to use if needed. So making sure that you're just staying on top of it is super key. All right, moving on to number 5, which is sending clean primary and secondary claims with all the supporting documentation. Obviously, this is a huge one for to maximize your insurance, right? So I always think it's really good to kind of have like a cross-check system. So you want to make sure that you're holding everybody accountable, right? You want to make sure that all of those claims go out clean the first time. And when we say clean, we mean that that insurance company isn't going to come back and ask for more information. You want to make sure that you are billing with the right claim format. Right now, it's recommended that you use the ADA claim format of 2019. You can check with your practice management software for any updates if you aren't using that. Bill office fees to the insurance companies. We recommend that as well. The reason is UCR rates. We want to make sure the insurance companies, you're not just sending your fees, or I'm sorry, the insurance fees, because then they're going to think that their prices are low, and we all know we want to be reimbursed more from insurance companies. So sending your UCR fees is key. And then sending claims under the correct rendering provider. Now, hygienists, they are not rendering providers. They don't need to be listed on the claim. It can be the doctor that is actually doing the exam. They are the rendering provider. So sometimes things get missed, though, and like Dr. Joe gets billed with Dr. Jim's, and that can cause a huge issue. So have somebody kind of be like your cross-checker, right? Somebody that looks at the claim before it gets sent for accuracy. So if you guys hold your teams accountable for accuracy, we would love to hear tips and tricks on how you do that. All right. And then sending claims daily. We've had some offices come to us that have a huge backlog in claims that haven't been sent. That's just money just sitting there, right? Money sitting there waiting that can be processed and paid. And so, that really, it causes two issues. One, you're not getting paid for the work you're doing. And two, I had another practice. They were super short staffed. It had been about a month since they had sent their claims, and they had patients calling saying, hey, my insurance hasn't received the claim. And so we recommend doing it within 24 hours, making sure those claims are going out within 24 hours of treatment or the next business day. And then, we also want to make sure that if you do accept primary and secondary, that you are sending the secondary claims same. So like if you get that primary insurance payment and then you're ready to send it to the secondary insurance, making sure that it's going to them. Making sure that you're sending claims clean. I feel like that's like a tongue twister. Sending claims clean, making sure narratives are being sent, pre, post-op x-rays for all the necessary things, chart notes. Those are all things that are going to make it so that we don't have to, we, as in your front staff or eAssist, don't have to do as much follow-up, and you're getting that money in your pocket quicker. All right. And then these kind of go hand in hand as well, is resolving rejected and denied claims. You go and you send your electronic claims, right? Turn off your computer for the day and you walk away. A lot of times if you go back in the next day, there might be a couple rejections. So you want to make sure you're working those rejections just as if you would a claim. Every time I send my claims daily for my offices, I check the day before's rejected claim. I want to make sure that nothing's in there. Sometimes it's literally the smallest little thing that will reject a claim. And if you're not following up on those constantly, those will slip through the cracks. And then you want to make sure that like sometimes you'll get one where the payer has determined that they don't qualify. You have to make sure that you're sending those as well. Even if the payer says they, like sometimes like Remote Light or something will jump something back and say frequency limit met. Well, I'm still going to send that claim, right, to make sure that that is accurate, and then we'll get that denial. And then when you get denied claims, don't just deny them, right? A lot of times you can still get reimbursement for them. Sometimes they just need a little extra TLC, tender love and care. So if you aren't working your denials regularly, that's again money that's not going in your pocket. So knowing when an appeal is warranted, and then having like a backlog of appeals that you can grab if you need. I've got a little cheat sheet for me that I keep so that I know that, okay, they appeal or they denied for this reason. I'll send the appeal to my practice and say, does this look right? Have the doctor approve it and send it off. So those are something that you want to make sure that you're constantly doing to keep the revenue coming in. All right. The next one is post-insurance, oh, I can't even talk today. Post-insurance payments timely. This is another one that we see where a practice will come to us and they're a little bit behind on their posting. Best practice is to post insurance claim payments within 24 hours of receiving it. So, you go, you grab the mail out, open up the checks. You want to make sure that all of those are posted within 24 hours into your practice management system. That way you're balancing with your bank account. The other day I was posting a payment and I had like 20 checks to post. And I went and I added up all my checks. Then I looked at my practice management software and I was off by 2 cents. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I had to go through all my payments, right? Again, because I wanted to make sure that I balanced. So making sure that your front staff is also balancing accurately. Some people may just say, it's just 2 cents, right? But when you think about it, it is just 2 cents. You want to make sure that your bank account and your practice management are completely aligned and that there's no errors. At eAssist, we have accountability services where we have to balance. And so I'm really grateful for those tools that we have so that we can make sure everything's being posted timely and accurately. And then also we always leave detailed posting notes so that if you ever needed to go back and look at a payment, you can see exactly what's been posted and why, and why if there was a deductible or whatever in there. It's pretty cool. So, all right. And then if you are using EFTs, EFTs are wonderful. They're great. A lot of times some insurance companies will reimburse you within 3 days of receiving the claim. So, but you want to make sure that if you are doing EFTs that you're reconciling the practice management, the merchant statements with your bank. So let's say I pulled a Delta check and it was $1,500 and I just go in and I post that EOB. If it hasn't reached your bank, what good does that do, right? And so not losing track of your payments. So having some sort of a system in place will really help to make sure that you are reconciling all of your payments. We've seen it where we received the EOB, it says it was paid, but then it was sent to the wrong bank account or not even received by the office at all, despite the insurance company claiming that it was sent. So again, we have our accounting department that will go in and they all say, okay, this EOB is ready to be posted because it hit the bank account, and then we post it the next day, business day. All right. We will move on from that. So here is another poll, which is how often do you follow up on outstanding insurance claims? I feel like this is a biggie for lots of practices, and it's one that I think can probably get out of hand pretty quickly. It can start like a little, bud and then turn into a big wildfire pretty quickly. All right, so we'll wait and see what you all say, and then we'll dive into it a little bit more. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to see if we've got the results up. Oh, here we go. Okay. So 45% said once a month, 50% said twice a month, and 5% don't follow up. Okay, great. All right, so following up on claims regularly is super, super key, right? These are the kind of the benchmarks that this is like a super healthy practice that you want your offices to be at. Your current insurance aging should be around 66 plus, your 30 to 30 days, 10 to 25, 61 to 90, 5 to 10, and 90 plus less than 5. If you have more in your over 90 than you do in your 60 or even your 30, then you probably have an insurance AR problem. That's okay, right? You have to work at it, right? So at eAssist, what we do is when a claim hits 30 days, we start following up on that claim every 14 days. So 14 days, 10 business days. We put detailed notes in there, and we call on that claim. We appeal those claims. We work to make you guys get every dollar that you are owed. Not all practices come to us in a pretty package like this. And so just know that it's achievable and you can get there. Our goal is to get the over 90 near zero. And we've seen that time and time again. And, there's some offices that, frankly, you're so busy, right? You've got a lot going on. You have patients and all this stuff happening in your office, and you don't have the time to follow up on those claims. So making sure that you have a person dedicated to your insurance AR, that's going to help maximize your insurance collections and really help your processes run smoother. Sometimes it's really just the tiniest thing on why a claim wasn't paid, and you just need to call and get it corrected. Or if it's not on file, enter it straight into the portal and then you get your funds quickly. So, lots of tips and tricks on how to work your aging, but, we recommend doing it every 2 weeks. So twice a month, really. And making sure that every time that you call an insurance or you follow up on that claim, you have a note in the system. So, if, let's say I was working your insurance AR and I ended up not working there a month later, somebody could follow up on my work just as if they were there. So having a really good flow. All right. Next is audit patient ledgers for accuracy before sending statements. Again, we see sometimes where you just batch all, right? You just, every patient balance, you send that statement and you send it off to the patient. So we recommend, before you're sending those statements, to have detailed notes as to why that patient has a balance. It could be from that posting note that you have explaining, okay, they had a deductible that we didn't know about, or they downgraded this code, or for whatever reason. That way, if the patient were to call back and ask about why they have a balance, you're not having to search through all the EOBs, and you have detailed notes so that anyone that answers the phone can answer that question for that patient. All right. So here's our next poll, which is, how often are you sending patient statements? And then, so we have once a month, when I remember, because that does happen, or just every few months. I should have added another one in there, is when I post insurance payments. That should have been in there too, but that's okay. I skipped that one. But I think we'll be able to get kind of a good idea of where we're at on here. So we'll just wait a second on this. All right, and we'll see what those poll results are here in just a minute. Whoops, oh my gosh, let's see if I can go back. Okay, once a month was 89.5%, and then every few months is 10.5%. Awesome, okay. So, I'm actually gonna go back. I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more. We think, if you think about it, when you are sending, I think I skipped a slide here. So I'm just going to improvise. Sending statements is super important for the health of your practice. We recommend sending your statements and then calling your patients as well. A lot of times patients get a bill. I've done it. I think we've all done it, right? You get that medical bill and you're like, oh yeah, I got to pay that. Put it down, you forget about it. And then you get that second bill and you're like, ooh, whoops, I got to pay that bill right now. And I think people a lot of times do that. It's unintentional. They're not trying to not pay you. They just get it and they kind of forget about it. So if you have somebody that's dedicated to your patient billing service and getting all of that money for you, it's super helpful. We recommend calling patients in between. And then after, if they haven't paid after a couple statements, sending a personalized letter from your dental practice as a reminder letter. It doesn't have to come in a bill format. You can just say, hey, you know, it looks like you still owe $89 on your account. So we recommend that. We also recommend having a special billing line that's centralized just for billing, so that when they call, they're talking to the person that they know they can talk to about their bill and is going to be able to help them. All right, let's move forward. Oh, you know, it's because I skipped this. I jumped ahead. That's when I said I was losing my mind with my this is what it was. So just sending statements and following up, I feel like they go hand in hand. So here's kind of what I was talking about: sending statements regularly, calling in between. The other thing I was going to mention is, I know for me, I don't always see my voicemails for a couple days, 2 or 3 days. And then sometimes it's a hassle to listen to my voicemails. I would rather somebody text me any day of the week. So if you can find a system that's HIPAA compliant and can do texts, that's a huge way as well to get patients to respond to you quicker, and emails. So yeah, in the Q&A, if you guys would put, if you have any success on how you get patients to pay your bills quickly, if you would share in the Q&A, we would love to learn from you and hear how you make that work. I have seen that the reminder letters are huge. Like I said, it's more personalized and it can really help bring that money in. So if you're not having success and you've tried 2 or 3 times without sending statements and calling and you still haven't got it, a lot of times that letter is key. So. All right. This is a biggie, which is run recare reports and call on patients to get them back on the schedule. I was actually pretty surprised to see this statistic that the average patient retention rate is at only 41%. So that means that only 4 out of 10 of your new patients coming in will come back after their first appointment. I was pretty surprised. I thought that was pretty low. Ideally, right, 85% would be where you want to be. Because we all know that the most expensive thing in your whole practice is an empty dental chair. And so running your recare and your unscheduled treatment plan reports regularly will help bring in those patients, right? Time goes quick. I know that for me, like, I actually did get one from my doctor not that long ago from my dentist, and it said it had been a year since they'd seen me for my cleaning. Please don't tell anyone because that's terrible. I'm in the dental field, right? I should have it every 6 months. But a year can go really fast for people, especially if you're busy and you're kind of just not thinking about it. And so if you have somebody that's calling regularly or sending reminders to your patients, that's going to get people back in the door. Because again, I don't think it's unintentional that people are doing that. I think a lot of times it's just because they forget. Some people might be scared, and so it's like hard to get them in. But we want to make sure that we're constantly having those patients come back. And, you know, new patients are wonderful. They help build our practice, and it's awesome that having existing patients stay with you is amazing as well. I thought this was a really cool statistic too. It said American Dental Association states that a lifetime patient will generate at least $4,500 in revenue, and that is not including referrals. I've seen people on like my Facebook page say, hey, does anybody recommend a good dentist? If you're the one that's getting people back in the door over and over and over again, good chance you'll be the dentist being recommended. Okay, and then negotiating your practice fee schedules. I think we've all heard the word inflation lately, right? It's kind of a big thing in our country. Our best practice is to negotiate your PPO fee schedules every 18 months. You want to make sure that you're being competitive, right? You want to make sure that your rates are aligning with the people in your area. And you need to adjust for inflation. You know, the cost of supplies, I mean, everything has skyrocketed. So you want to make sure that you're not undershooting yourself and that you're getting the reimbursement rates that you deserve. So making sure that you're negotiating those and, you know, making sure that you're getting every dollar that you deserve. All right. You know, here at eAssist, we always like to say that we are delivering peace of mind to practices. I feel like I'm really just truly scratching the surface on all of the things that can help run a practice smoother. There's so many different things you can do to help your practice become healthy. Like I said, those were just 13 of them. But we are here to deliver peace of mind, to make sure that we're meeting all of our brand promises for you, and to make sure that you guys don't have to worry about the stress of all of the nuances of dental billing and all of that. So these polls aren't going to be like sent to everybody on here, but there is a poll, and it's, would you like to have someone from our team reach out to you and schedule a consultation regarding our eAssist dental billing services? I promise there's a plethora of dental nerds like me that love dental billing and love to, you know, bring in all of that money. I know when I have offices that I see that AR decreasing, or I see, you know, when they came to us, their collection ratio was in the low 80s. And then, you know, 3 to 6 months after being with eAssist, their collection ratios in the upwards of 98% or better. You know, that's when I know I can go to bed happy. And so anyway, all right. So I think we are ready for the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Susie. As a reminder, everyone, if you have any questions, please type it in the box labeled "Have a Question," and we'll address it right now. We do have some questions now, Susie, so if you're ready, we'll get right into it.
I'm ready.
Excellent. Susie, our first question is from Danielle, and she wanted to know, do you have a sample of the final letter that lets people know if not paid, they will be submitted to collections?
Yeah, definitely. At eAssist, we have letters. We always have the doctor approve them first to make sure that the wording sounds okay to them. And that is, we always send a letter, you know, letting them know if we've exhausted all of our tries, you know, between emails, texts, phone calls, statements, a friendly reminder letter, couple friendly, we'll let them know, like, hey, you know, we'll have to send you to collections if we don't hear back from you within X amount of days. So yes, and we always have the office and the doctor approve it before we send them out.
Thank you, Susie. Our next question comes from Stan, and he wanted to know, when accepting an EFT, does a credit card processor charge for the transaction as they do with a credit card?
So EFTs do not charge a processing fee. Virtual credit cards do. We do recommend opting out of virtual credit cards due to that processing fee, but EFTs do not. So I personally, both of my offices that I work do EFTs, and I love it. Like, I'll see a claim that I sent on Monday and it's ready to be posted on Friday. And so I think it's wonderful. And then you don't get checks lost in the mail, and there is no extra charge for it. So.
Thank you. Christina wanted to know, why do insurance state that they can't take COB from providers if secondary is Medicaid?
Okay, let me read your question. It says they state the subscriber needs to let them know on Medicaid. You know, Medicaid is tricky, right? They're kind of like their own little ball game. A lot of times it's a HIPAA thing. So honestly, I really don't have the right answer for you right now. Let's see, Christine, if you want to email me, I'm going to give you my email. I will get the answer for you and email it to you, because we have an amazing group of people that know Medicaid very well, and they may be able to answer that for you. So my email is Suzanne, SUZANNE .Henry @eAssist.me. Go ahead and send me an email and I will get that question answered for you.
Thank you, Susie. Heather wanted to know if eAssist gets trained with putting dental benefit information into Curve Dental, please call us.
Yes. We use Curve. We've got lots of people that are Curve experts. We can definitely help you with that. We love Curve.
Thank you. And then now Monique wanted to know, are you seeing a lot of insurance companies requesting narratives for dental procedures? Lately, she's been getting a lot, especially for extractions.
Yeah, absolutely. So much, right? Insurance companies are asking for so much these days. I always send chart notes with my every extraction. One of the practices I work for is an oral surgery practice. So with every extraction, I send the chart notes, post the pre-op notes. I send as much information as I can so that they don't have to come back and request it after. So yes, we are seeing a lot of that.
Thank you. Heather had another question, and that's referring to our first poll question, actually, Susie, we're verifying the patient insurance benefits. She not wanted to know, for the offices that don't verify, are they fee for service?
That's a good question. Because I don't know personally which ones answered what. If you are fee for service, you're not necessarily going to always call and check on those benefits because it's kind of the patient's responsibility. If you are an in-network provider, though, like I said, we always recommend making sure that you have up-to-date insurance eligibility and verification so that you can make sure you're providing the right services to your patient, right? So you don't have your patient gets a crown and then you find out they had a major waiting period. It's always like a little sting when stuff like that happens. And so I'm unsure on those people that answered the poll if they were fee for service, but I would probably assume that. So
thank you. Our next question, which is from Tiffany, Susie, is, are you finding that insurance companies are limiting what they cover?
I find that insurance companies try to limit what they cover. Sometimes we see them come back with the silliest little things as to why they are denying a claim. And we will appeal it, right? We'll fight for it. I always feel like it's kind of like an insurance game, right? You're playing back and forth. And like I said, I have like a whole plethora of appeals that I like to use. And I've seen lots of appeals get paid. But yes, insurance companies are being a little bit harsher on what they're sending back. But if you have all the proper documentation and you just can go back with your ammo, right? And hopefully get that claim paid.
Thank you, Susie. We had another question related to that first poll question from Danielle. And she wanted to know, actually, yes, how often do you recommend that they re-verify insurance benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. So I recommend that every other appointment, right, that they're coming in for if they're coming in twice a year for cleanings, at least once a year, you want to have more of like a detailed eligibility, right? You want to make sure that you're getting the max benefits and all of that. But then if they're coming in every 6 months, you can just kind of do like a recheck verification. Make sure you can find out what their benefits that they've used for the year, those kinds of things. So we recommend once a year really getting more of like an extensive verification. And then for their second appointment, doing a standard one. But if they're only coming in once a year, we recommend doing it every year.
Thank you. Heather had a niche follow-up on that. And her question was, what if the person gets fired or leaves their job between the day you verify and the day they come in for treatment?
Well, that would be really unfortunate, huh? My goodness. Where you're doing it 3 days in advance, you would hope that your patients would be transparent with you. That's a good one. That kind of stumped me a little bit. I would say, most of the time you're safe to verify 72 hours in advance. If you are worried about that and you may have that, you could, when those patients come in the door for their treatment, let them know, okay, we verified your insurance with, this insurance company. Looks like you're all cleared. Are you still, is everything accurate still? Kind of recheck the accuracy when they come in. That might be a good solution for something like that.
Thank you. Our next question was, why do providers avoid Medi-Cal patients?
Medi-Cal. I personally am not very familiar with Medi-Cal. However, I know we have people that are. I just personally am not an expert on that. And so I'm not sure if I'm the best person to answer a question about that. But if you had a question, you can reach out to us at eAssist, and I bet somebody might be able to help you with that.
Thank you, Susie. Vanessa had a question, and she wanted to know, do you have any tips on knowing what dollar amount for outstanding insurance claims is getting too high? Obviously, we want it to be as low as possible, but that's not always what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if your insurance AR is constantly rising, your dollar amount's going high, that's not good. That benchmark where if you look at your dollar amounts and if 65% is in your current, and that you want to make sure that your dollar amounts aren't constantly rising. You want each bucket. So the 30 bucket, the 60 bucket, and the 90 plus bucket. With each bucket, you want the dollar amount to be less, 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 and less. Hopefully zero for your 90. And so if your buckets are higher than your bucket previous, then you probably are needing more help with your AR. We've seen offices that have upwards of 500,000 and they're over 90, right? And so it's like that's something there where somebody needs to step in and really get those insurance claims paid. And so hopefully that answered your question. It was kind of long-winded, but I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Our next question, do you have any suggestions on how to work with insurance when they do pay, but it's the wrong company for a claim?
The wrong company, as in, can you repeat the question just so I can understand it better?
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions on how to work with insurance when they do pay the wrong company for a claim? So I think the companies might be,
Yeah, so like maybe they accidentally paid a wrong dental practice, right? Is that how you're gathering that question?
Yes, I think so. Unless Daniel could give us some clarification.
Yeah, if you could jump in the chat and explain that a little bit more, hopefully I can help answer that. If I understand the question, I think what you're saying is like, let's say the insurance paid a check, but it paid to the wrong provider, the wrong practice. If you're calling on that claim.
That is what she meant, yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So if you're calling on those claims, right, every 14 days, every 2 weeks, and they say, oh yeah, we paid that, you would want to verify, okay, is it the right address? If it's the wrong address, you need to let them know right away. Then they can void that checkout. Let's say that provider accidentally deposited that check. That's on the insurance, and you can fight for that. You can let that insurance know, no, you sent it to the wrong provider. So that's something that you would just call and dispute with the insurance and get them to reprocess a check to your office. But you would catch those, right, if you're following up on them every 14 days.
Thank you. And Susie, I think this might be our last question for our session. And this is from Tiffany. And her question was, do you find that patients call the insurance company and state that a procedure is covered, but in actuality, you have a prior authorization that states they will not cover that procedure?
Oh yeah, we've seen that for sure. You know, I'm not here to bash insurance companies by any means, but you know, sometimes you're going to call one rep and they're going to tell you one thing, and then the patient calls and they're going to tell that patient something else. So if you have the documented prior authorization showing that it's not covered, or you have that really clean eligibility check showing that it's not a covered service, that's what I would present to my patient. I would say, look, unfortunately, I don't think that rep was correct. This is what I have from your insurance, and present it that way. That way they can see the clear documentation. And then, you know, if they're still disputing it, I would recommend that they call again and I would give them that prior authorization number. That way they can cross-reference that with the insurance company.
Thank you. And we had an actual final question come in as we were answering this one. And the question was, how do we work with HMO patients who always come in only for periodic exams?
You know, HMO patients are kind of the same ballpark, right, as Medicaid. I mean, if I want to say, right, you get a little fee each month for like having HMO patients. You know, that's kind of like, it's a hard question to answer because basically if you're an HMO provider, right, you're going to work with them. And a lot of times it's low reimbursement rates. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's how I would do it. I mean, because you're an in-network provider with HMOs, right? And so that's why you see those patients. So I don't think I'm answering that correctly. So I apologize.
Thank you, Susie. And we had a comment come in from Rhonda, and she has an observation that many times recently when they verify insurance coverage, the patient comes in, they file, and then they're paid months later, in some cases over a year. The insurance company requests the money back because the insurance at that point had terminated. In her personal experience, she actually appealed it. The patient appealed, and she reached out to the insurance commissioner, and the decision was upheld, so we had to refund the money. The patient is now making payments, and Rhonda feels that there should be a time limit on this.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, that's terrible, right? I love that you got the insurance commissioner involved because I think sometimes that needs to happen. I have a couple claims on one of my offices that we involved the insurance commissioner. Sounds like you fought really hard for that. And, you know, I haven't seen that too much. Sounds like hopefully that was just a one-off thing. I have seen them come back and request a refund, but not for a termed insurance. And so that's a tricky one. I mean, especially if you have the eligibility check stating that they were, you know, insured at that time. Yeah, that's super unfortunate. But yeah, it sounds like you appealed it and got everyone involved. And yeah, I'm so sorry. That's so unfortunate that happened. It's terrible. Goodness.
Thank you, Susie. And I think this might be our last question from Vanessa. Her office doesn't take HMO. Do you think that's a good idea for her to start?
You know, it really depends on your provider and how they want to run their practice. HMOs are lower, if I'm remembering right, they're lower reimbursement rates, but you do get a little chunk for each patient that you see. So honestly, I would research it in your area because it also depends on the area that you're in. Research it and see if it's something you think would benefit your practice, and then talk to, you know, that's what I would do personally, is research it really well and see if it's something that you think would fit with your practice.
Thank you, Susie, again, for the great presentation. If anyone has any outstanding questions, please email us at webinars@henryschein.com. As a thank you for attending tonight's webinar, everyone will receive the recording via email the next week. thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you all on our future webinars. Susie, thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.